Welcome to Free Thought Matters. I'm Laurie Gaylor.
And I'm Dan Barker. We are co-presidents of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the nation's largest association of freethinkers. That means atheists and agnostics, with 32,000 members in North America. We invite you to join us today at FFRF.org in our vital work to keep religion out of government. Or ask for information at FFRF.org and receive a free copy of our newspaper, Free Thought Today.
And we're so pleased to have as a guest today actor John de Lancie, best known for portraying Q in Star Trek: The Next Generation and appearing in numerous other TV shows, including Breaking Bad and West Wing, to name but a few, and films including The Hand That Rocks the Cradle and The Onion Field.
John de Lancie has performed with most of the major symphony orchestras in North America. He's directed operas. He's hosted the Los Angeles Philharmonic Symphonies for Youth. In real life, he's a humanist and a non-believer. He's the winner of FFRF's debut Clarence Darrow Award for helping FFRF dedicate our statue to Clarence Darrow in Dayton, Tennessee. He's even portrayed Clarence Darrow in a long-running production called The Great Tennessee Monkey Trial.
And that's the theme for today. Today we're going to talk with him about a new project that's to do with science, the law, and evolution. And then later on we're going to hear John de Lancie's inspiring graduation address to students involved with the Secular Student Alliance.
So John, thank you for joining us today on Free Thought Matters.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
So let's,
here in my house.
Here in your great studio there.
Right.
So we want to talk about the play that you've written about that test case in Dover, Pennsylvania, about creationism in the schools. But is it true that you have actually performed this play on a Star Trek cruise, something like that?
Yes. Kristen and I, who wrote the play together, I had the opportunity to present the play. Well, many of us in the Star Trek universe are invited to go on a cruise once a year. And what they ask of the actors is that they bring some sort of entertainment. Now, most people sing, some people, do jokes, a very funny evening of jokes. And I decided to present the first year the Scopes Monkey Trial, and then the second year this play that the two of us wrote, which was about the Dover Intelligent Design Trial, which took place in 2005 in Dover, Pennsylvania.
So tell us about that trial and a little bit about what your play does with that story.
Well, really quickly, the Scopes Monkey Trial was a 6-day trial.
1925.
In 1925. It was a 6-day trial. The whole issue, Judge Ralston, did not want to present any sort of evidence whatsoever. He did not allow that to be presented. There was nothing about evolution or anything like that. The issue was simply, did Scopes, who was the assistant teacher, the substitute teacher for the day, did he in fact teach from the book, the science book, Evolution? And it was found that he did, and that was the end of the story. In 2005, evangelicals took over the school board in Dover, Pennsylvania. They tried to throw out the 9th grade science book. And when they weren't able to do that, what they did is that they said, we want to bring in intelligent design, and we want to have intelligent design to be taught in conjunction with the science book. There was a great deal of angst about it. It really divided the town, which is sort of in a Bible Belt of Pennsylvania, and ultimately it went to trial. The judge, Judge Jones, he decided to approach this completely differently. He said, I want to hear everything. I want the evidence presented both for evolution and intelligent design. And that trial, rather than lasting 6 days lasted 40 days.
Uh,
And so both sides were able to present their side. And on the side of evolution, we had some of the great explainers. And on the side of intelligent design, they had in the end, only two people who were willing to get up, Behe being one of them. And at the end of that, the judge presented his verdict. It was a judge verdict. I think it was called a bench. So there was no jury. Yeah, it was a bench decision. And the bench decision was, from everybody's point of view, except, of course, the evangelicals, was a really thought out, brilliantly presented decision, saying that intelligent design was a sham.
So it was quite a trial. And so your play, you've told me that you used the actual words, the transcript from the trial.
Yes, one of the things in which I wanted to make sure, both of us, Kristen and I, wanted to make sure, and that is that we didn't want people to say, well, this is your opinion, and this is not. So we combed the newspapers, hundreds of pages of newspapers, which were essentially all quotes, and then thousands upon thousands of pages of testimony. And then we presented it sort of in the guise of a radio show, so that you could have a narrator who could say, let me bring you in to Dover, Pennsylvania. This is a little bit of a description of what Dover, Pennsylvania is like. Here, this is where the problem began. And then it goes into a scene that we knew a great deal about. And that was that the custodian brought one of the new board members, one of the major board members, one of the evangelicals, into a classroom to show him a mural that one of the students had painted, which is, that classic mural of the ape on all fours, standing up and finally being a human. And, there would be a half a dozen images like that. And we know that that custodian took that picture out, or took that painting out of the classroom and burned it. I mean, there's so many things that we discover during the trial. And then, so it's told in that sort of story form. And then you go into the beginning of the school board meetings and how people are saying, well, you really can't do this. And there's separation of church and state. And then, one of the board members is saying, somebody 2,000 years ago died on the cross. Aren't we going to back him? And, and it just goes on and on and on and on until finally there's a trial. People got really upset, and then there was a trial.
So the issue here really was that they're trying to pass off intelligent design as if it were a kind of science. But during the trial itself, it was shown that intelligent design is nothing more than old-fashioned creationism, like William Jennings Bryan was promoting.
Yes, I mean, exactly. It goes back 600 years. It goes back to 200 years to the whole watchmaker theory. It is an explanation for the unexplainable. If you were to see something that you could not explain, then you could say, well, a deity placed it here. So it is, in fact, creationism. Creationism was struck down by the Supreme Court, and then they tried to turn it into the science of creationism. And then when that was struck down, I think it was 1987, this came up through the Discovery Institute, which was a think tank, a religious think tank in California. And I think they're also in Seattle now. And then this was going to be a big test case, and ultimately they lost. I mean, they lost big time. And it's important. The reason that this is important for people to see and to hear, which was, with this COVID thing that happened. I mean, we did the show. We did it in front of 3,000 people. Obviously, well, not obviously, some of them thought that they were going to see something about Star Trek. Instead, they see, how the religious people took over the school board, lied, and did what they want to bring in intelligent design. But the response was very, very far more than what I had expected it to be.
During the cruise, you mean?
What's that?
During the cruise, the response to your play?
Yes, and I think the reason is that I really did not bring in my points of view. I let the players of this drama actually speak their own point of view. So you have people who are really explaining intelligent design. You get to really hear what it is. You get to for scientists, a wonderful Miller who wrote this extraordinary textbook, which is essentially the textbook that's used mostly in America and all around the world, and stuff like that. So these are really experts. Explain what is science, and many people don't really understand what is science. That it's a way of thinking, and that it has to be verified, and it has to be proven, and then you have to get a peer review, and on and on and on. So they're getting to hear all of this stuff, and then, of course, at the end, they're getting to hear a verdict, and many of them had their own verdict by that time. And there were many, many people in the room who were religious. And I mostly present this as let's everybody stay in their own lane. You don't need to bring religious teaching into a school. You have a church to do that in. And you certainly don't have to mix the two in terms of scientific thought and analysis with religious thought and analysis.
Well, we can't wait to see the play. We know it's in limbo right now because you can't go into the studio, but we're very glad to get this little sneak preview from the creator of the play.
I wanted to say I hope we'll see it played at the Dayton, Tennessee courthouse someday.
Where we saw another play with you, which was quite different. And when we come back, we are going to hear your very inspiring remarks to the class of graduating secular students.
Hi, I'm Ron Reagan, an unabashed atheist, and I'm alarmed by the intrusions of religion into our secular government. That's why I'm asking you to support the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the nation's largest and most effective association of atheists and agnostics, working to keep state and church separate, just like our founding fathers intended. Please support the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Ron Reagan, lifelong atheist, not afraid of burning in hell.
My name's Katie, and I'm an out-of-the-closet freethinker. I decided to shed religion because of its self-destructive tendencies. I witnessed firsthand the toll religion can take on your psyche as a Christian woman. I grew up judging people, proselytizing, and ridiculing them because their beliefs didn't coincide with mine. And let me tell you, if someone were to question my faith, I would not have any of it. It wasn't until I was working at a Christian camp that I met an atheist, and he taught me to think critically and view the world through a different lens. It was at this moment that I decided that I may never have been a believer. A sense of fear and community were really the only things holding me to my faith. As a proud woman and humanitarian, I would like to be the best version of myself, not the worst.
I'm Laurie Gaylor.
And I'm Dan Barker. Welcome back to Free Thought Matters. We're continuing our interview with the actor and author and musician, John Lancie. So you were invited to give the graduation speech for secular students. How did that happen?
I don't quite remember how it happened, other than I think I got an email asking if I would be willing to do it, and I thought that it was a marvelous opportunity. I felt quite poorly about the fact that these students not only were not going to have a graduation, but also here were some kids who were going to start their life right on the cusp of probably a terrible economic cataclysm, and just like my children had started in 2009, and I have great sympathy for that generation, and so I felt that I wanted to speak to them.
Well, you gave a very inspiring talk, and we're going to look at it right now.
Greetings, wherever you may be. I'm John Lancie. Some of you may recognize me from my roles on Star Trek or Breaking Bad or any number of other shows. But today I'm speaking to you not as an actor, but rather as a secular humanist. As a person who has far more love and respect for the real world than for the imaginary one. But first, congratulations. Congratulations to those of you who just finished high school. And congratulations to those of you who just finished college. Bravo to all of you who worked hard and got the grades. And to those of you who barely read the assignments, slept through your classes, pushed the boundaries of goofing off to new levels like I once did, bravo to you too. Whether you are graduating summa cum laude or skin of your teeth, you've made it. And make no bones about it, graduation is a milestone. It's a day reserved just for seniors. You might have thought as freshmen this day would never come, but it did. It's a special day. It's a special week. Getting your diploma in front of family and friends is important. The parties, the proms, I think I already said that part, are all part of the celebration. Whether you're graduating from high school or from college, today you are on the launch pad, fueled and ready to go. Next stop, the future. Except, well, hold on. There's a glitch, a problem, a what? A worldwide pandemic? Just like in the movies? And all of a sudden the best part of your senior year is cut short and the springtime ramp up to graduation has been replaced with hurried goodbyes, anxiety, quarantine, and Zoom? It sucks. There's no question about it. And yet in the midst of this disappointment and tragedy, you need to remain optimistic, as difficult as that may sound. Your future depends on it, because as dark and scary as these things may be today, there are opportunities that are going to be opening up that only come around once in a generation. A new world is going to get shaped out of this mess, and as secularists, you are particularly well suited to do the shaping. This is not the first crisis to befall humankind, nor will it be the last. Each generation has its particular challenge. I think about my parents and how they must have felt at 18 years old when their lives were suddenly turned upside down. Saturday night, December 6th, 1941, they were at the movies, looking forward to Christmas and New Year's. Their future was all worked out, or so they thought. The next morning, in the blink of an eye, the party was over, as a whole new reality came screaming into their lives. How frightened and scared they must have been those first months as the world exploded around them. And yet it didn't take long before they understood the challenge they faced, rose to the occasion, and ultimately created a whole new world out of the old one, just like you will do. My parents' generation achieved extraordinary things. They built a world in which democracy triumphed over fascism and dictatorship, a world where cooperation and international institutions replaced might makes right, where out of the ashes of World War II came an unprecedented period of prosperity, both for the victors and the vanquished, where billions of people worldwide were lifted out of poverty, where parents no longer had to fear losing their children to measles or polio, and if that weren't enough, in a supreme feat of optimism and creativity, they landed on the moon. Pretty impressive. But along with those successes was a dark side. Theirs was a world of inequality, a world limited by race, gender, sexual orientation, a world of consumption and extraction without regard for sustainability, a world where one political misjudgment and the push of a button could annihilate the human race. That's the world my generation inherited when we graduated. A war in Vietnam, race riots at home, political assassinations, and what did we do? Well, like most every generation, we started out with best intentions. We helped to end the Vietnam War. We fought for the civil rights of minorities, women, gays, people of color. We started the sexual revolution. We innovated and turned the richness of American music, art, comedy, film, and television into the world's most attractive brand. We invented the personal computer, the internet, and an entire digital economy in which a majority of you will probably make your careers. We traveled the world like it was our backyard. But as my children remind me, that's not all we did. We happily reaped the benefits from the investment our parents made in education, infrastructure, and institutions, then pulled the ladder up behind us. We even celebrated the obscene accumulation of wealth in the hands of a few, with no regard for what it does to the many. We borrowed and borrowed, never wanting to pay the piper. We choked the earth with pollution and then convinced ourselves that your generation should take care of it. We incarcerated more of our fellow citizens than any other country on earth. We shrugged and turned away when our own children were gunned down in their classrooms. We corrupted the political system with vast sums of hidden money. We turned news into entertainment and lying into a political norm. And because we didn't go to the moon ourselves, out of envy, we concocted conspiracy theories about how it never happened at all. And as the years wore on, some of us became very small and petty. There's a reason why we're called the me generation. Crises have a way of exposing both the best and the worst, and this pandemic is no different. As secularists, these last few months have shown with brutal clarity that the future does not and cannot belong to the liars, the magical thinkers, the bloviators, the science deniers, to those who are too lazy to actually know anything except for what their gut tells them, as ample as that may be. The future belongs to you, and the forging of that future will require what you possess in abundance: reason, truth-telling, critical thinking, and courage. Oh, and also belief. Now, I know that that's a strange thing to say about people like us. I mean, we're used to being defined by what we don't believe. You don't believe in God? You don't believe in the Bible? You don't believe in the blood of the Lamb? You got it. I don't. I believe that truth is more powerful than fiction, that ideology, dogma, and groupthink is dangerous and should always be challenged. I believe in fairness, tolerance, and equality. And I'm happy to say that these last few months, as tragic as they have been, have provided us with shining examples of what matters most: facts, truth, and caring, as health professionals and scientists around the world battle to save us all. People love to say that there are no atheists in foxholes, but my experience is that when the hits the fan, there are no anti-vaxxers or magical thinkers in a pandemic. Well, unfortunately there are. But we all know Darwin will eventually take care of that. What's important for you to know is that my generation's influence is coming to an end, and that this crisis, positioned a few months before an election, provides you with a unique opportunity not just to clean up, but to clean out. Today, your graduation day is an invitation to imagine your future and to achieve it. You don't like $72,000 a year colleges? I don't blame you. You want to breathe clean air and drink pure water? You should. You want to be paid a living wage? I agree. You want health care? Absolutely. Social justice? It's all within your reach. There's already a push to get things back to the way they were. Well, here's your first challenge. If the way they were is not good enough, then you need to do something about it. How you tackle these next 6 months will impact your lives for years to come. Remember, good intentions are not good enough. Being secular is not a lapel pin, it's a mission. Today, more than ever, we need leaders. We need visionaries. We need a whole new conversation. That's why you must remain optimistic and active. Your time is now. In the coming months, the forces of bigotry, ignorance, and fear are counting on you to remain on the sidelines. Surprise them. Be smart. Be strategic. Be secular. The world needs you. See you out there.
So that is actor John Delancey's very powerful secular commencement address. And we are looking so much forward to the play you're doing on Dover and seeing it. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And I think what you're doing is really, really important, especially now.
Well, we're very glad to have you be part of it.
And as I said before, I hope we can see that play in the courthouse in Dayton, Tennessee someday, where the Scopes trial originally happened. So let's not pray about it, but let's hope that happens someday. Thank you, John Delancey, for being with us.
Goodbye. Thank you.
And thank you for watching Free Thought Matters.
Because free thought matters.
Hi, I'm Steve Pinker. In my book, Enlightenment Now, I show that the world has become a better place as reason has been overcoming superstition and tribalism. But the values of the Enlightenment are under attack. That's why I'm a proud member of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the nation's largest association of free thinkers working to keep state and church separate. Please join me in supporting the Freedom from Religion Foundation to ensure that our government is driven not by religion, but by reason.